And you know what? I'm okay saying Cody Parkey blew it for the Bears. Could they have had more time to get close? Sure. I mean, Matt Nagy, I thought, mismanaged the clock. Could the defense have gotten a stop against the Eagles when it needed to get a stop? Absolutely. You want to say you're the 85 Bears? Do you know how many points the 85 Bears surrendered in the playoffs before the Super Bowl? Not one. Don't tell me you're a great defense. Show me you're the great defense. But Cody Parkey had a 43-yard kick that he missed. And if you want to say, and it's fair, and the NFL saying, like, look, the ball was deflected. We want to say it was deflected. First of all, it was still spinning backwards. I mean, it wasn't like it was veering. Let's not act like this was big palm and it got spiked back in his face, but it was deflected. Was it deflected behind the line of scrimmage? No. Do you know why it was deflected in front of the line of scrimmage? Because Cody Parkey's kick had too low a trajectory. In other words, translation, it's his fault. Doesn't make him a bad human being. And he's gotten bonus points from most people for answering questions in front of his locker and admitting it was his fault, that he let the team down. Which, doing interviews after you blow it and admitting that you blew it is a little bit like, remember that Chris Rock bit? Where guys want credit for taking care of I take care of my kids. You're supposed to. I ain't never been in jail. You're not supposed to go to jail. Congratulations. What do you need credit? Like Cody Parkey getting credit for being a stand-up guy. He's supposed to. Like what are you supposed to do? Like, oh, it's bad hold. Laces out, Marino. He missed a kick. He's got one. Well, what about the 3 other kicks? Okay. Try that one at home. Honey, I know I slept with my secretary, but there's 3 other women in the office I didn't touch. Right? It's not like it's the first. It's not even like, which Anderson was it? It wasn't Morton Anderson. It was the other Anderson with the Minnesota Vikings Gary Anderson, right? Like Gary Anderson literally hadn't missed a kick all year. And you go back and when the Minnesota Vikings had Randall Cunningham and they had Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith, and they were the best team in the NFC. And he literally missed 1 kick all year. Now he choked it, and it's his fault that they didn't go to the Super Bowl. Instead, the Falcons went to the Super Bowl and then spit up all over themselves. But the fact is that, and like Cody Parkey, like he's hit the goalpost a bunch of times. NBC played his greatest hits afterwards. Like this has been a problem. It was a thing in Chicago where he hadn't practiced. He said, like, I don't get to practice the stadium. So he goes and kicks balls at Soldier Field, and they had local helicopters. I'm high above Soldier Field here as Cody Parkey is trying to practice the field. Like this was a thing. This is a problem. And he hit the goalpost. And he lost the game. And they're not in the playoffs because he missed it. It's his fault. That's how it works. When did we get to the point where we're like, well, I know he missed it. Not his fault they lost. No. Let me help you with it. It's not only his fault. But if he makes that kick, are they playing this weekend? If nothing else happens, nothing else changes, and he makes a kick, are they playing this weekend? It's a 43-yarder at home in no rain, in no snow, in a bit of a breeze. Is that a makeable kick for an NFL kicker who was the number 1 free agent on the market last offseason? Right? I mean, he made the practice kick when they iced him. By the way, any of you, the icing doesn't work stuff guy. Okay. Kickers are always go like, yeah, I don't want him to ice me. It doesn't work. I want him to ice me. It doesn't work. Right? They do the reverse psychology stuff. Like, okay, I'll give you a little bit more time to think about it. You know, why do you always hit the second ball off the tee better than the first ball off the tee? And don't give me that, I never hit a second ball off the tee, Gottlieb thing. That's bull. You hit one and you're like, 4! Wasn't me. And then you're like, let me just take a little breakfast ball here. And the second one, why? Because you're not thinking about it. The first one on the first tee, you're like playing golf with Tiger Woods in that video game commercial. You get the shakes like it's 10 degrees outside. Why? Because you're thinking about it. It's the same thing with icing a kicker. But anyone who's like, well, let's absolve Cody Parkey of blame because he made the first 3 field goals and was the offense inept at times? Sure. Should the defense have gotten a stop? Sure. Should he have a little bit more time so they get a little bit closer? Sure. All these things. But 43-yarders for an NFL kicker at home, and a reasonable surface, pretty good hold. Like, he's missed it. Right. Just like we didn't do this with J.R. Smith when he got the offensive rebound and then dribbled it out to midcourt, right? We didn't do that. We didn't not blame J.R. Smith. Just go back up for it, get fouled, and the Cavs win game 1. Why are we doing that with Cody Parkey? Does we feel bad because he's a kicker? He doesn't look like a football player? Of course it's his fault. Of course it's his fault. That's how sports work. There's a I think it's a speech from Theodore Roosevelt, which Tony Bennett, the Virginia head coach, used when remember Virginia lost to UMBC, Maryland, Baltimore County, in the NCAA tournament, the first number 1 seed to lose to the 16 seed. And afterwards, he said, hey, look, anytime you step in the arena, something historic can happen. I mean, historically great or historically bad. So we honor the guys that step into the arena. Like Cody Parkey had the lower intestinal fortitude to make the first 3, and he didn't completely, like, let's not oversell it. He didn't completely gag it. It wasn't like he duck hooked it. It wasn't like, oh my God, Cody Parkey pressured too much. You're going to see 1 or 2 of those tonight in college football. That's what happens with college football kickers. You know, you miss by this. It is, in fact, a game of inches. He misses by, and even with the miss, it still could have gone through the uprights if not for that damn crossbar. But if he makes it, they win. And the hold was good, and the kick was good. It was just a little bit too low and did get deflected a little bit too far to the left. So I'd like to absolve guys that make mistakes from blame. That's not the way the world works, nor should it work. It's just like when you make a mistake in life. Don't carry the biases of being blamed for things in the past for how you judge the present. You're allowed to go, hey, and this is how I want the world to work. Hey, my bad, I screwed up. You got to look at the greater good. A greater good, like Cody Parker, is still a really good kicker and a good guy, and he's young, and he'll be fine for a long term in the future, whether it's with the Bears or with somebody else. But you can still screw up. It's the same thing in a relationship. You can say something stupid or mean. It doesn't mean you're saying something stupid or mean all the time. If you do, well, then that's different. But this absolving people, I don't know if I just made up a word, absolving people from blame, I don't know when we got there. And I don't know if it's some inherent bias for how we think we were treated as children or as young adults, that we don't want to be blamed for things. But guess what? That ain't how it works in sports. If you make the free throw, we win the game. If you make the kick, we win the game. And when you don't, we go like, hey, there's a lot of other stuff that caused us to lose, but we would have won if you would have made it. So it's your fault. Not all your fault, but it is, in fact, your fault. Like 70, 80, 90% your fault.